Get ready to break molds and blaze trails. Welcome to the Chelsey Holm podcast, your shortcuts to wellness, business, and growth with a twist. Let's flip the script and unlock your full potential together.
Do you ever hardcore struggle and you're just like, what in the world? Why is this such a challenge for me today, of all days, right? Today's episode is going to be about real life struggles and what it actually means when, we're trying to grow. So I'm going to go into how the brain works, some real life examples of areas that I've really struggled in lately. And then also just to give you some understanding, it's that step back that I'm always talking about, to be able to see the big picture and to understand that growth does not come easy. Growth is a challenge. You cannot grow without challenge. And adding on to that, you can't grow without awareness. You can't change what you're not aware of, right? And so I think one of the biggest things we need to understand about our brains is that our brains are filled with chemicals, right? Like dopamine, and there are things that feel good. And when it comes to decisions that we make, first of all, we need to understand that. I mean, we're making 30,000 plus decisions a day. Most of those are done subconsciously, meaning that we're not aware of it. We're not consciously making a decision like, do I want to go here or here? No, it's just based on our subconscious autopilot. We're making those decisions without even thinking about it, okay? But then we also need to understand that because our brains will either go towards something because it will give us pleasure, or it will go away from something to avoid pain, we are sometimes battling against these chemical imbalances, if you will, because, real life example here, I'm someone who super values health and wellness, and I'm very intentional with it every day. But I still really struggle against this, well, I'll just get myself a treat, or I deserve this, because my brain is looking for comfort. My brain is looking for that dopamine hit, and this can be in anything. I think I've shared this in the past, different basically cheap ways of making myself feel good, whether that's online shopping or, it's that getting that instant hit. We can do this with social media, right? It feels good when a bunch of people comment on our stuff and like our stuff and people follow us and all the things, right? That releases chemicals in our brain that make us feel good. And so just this last week, I ate at McDonald's twice, you guys, which is crazy because I've been on this dialing in journey where, I've lost a bunch of fat. My goals are really big to get down to 24% body fat, which is something that I've never done before. I've never been that specific. It's always been, more vague about just lifestyle. And this year I'm really dialing that in. But here's the other thing. I have had gut issues my whole life, and thankfully in my mid-20s when I started my wellness journey, I really found things that helped me in that, and that's why I started my business journey in health and wellness, and I still continue to share those products today and build that business because it helped me in so many ways, not just with energy, which was the biggest thing, because that's the thing that I felt most on the daily, but it helped me with my digestive issues. And so here's the thing, how this ties into McDonald's this past week. It does not make me feel good when I eat there. Now, mentally, does it make me feel good? It does, because that crap tastes good. It's not real food, but dang it, they know how to make things highly palatable, even though they're minimally nutrient dense, if that, right? Okay, so this is the interesting part about creating awareness around your thoughts and making decisions, right? Moving out of that subconscious into that conscious brain where you're actually thinking through things using your higher brain reasoning, right? Not just reacting on autopilot without even thinking about it. So I'm literally driving, Bo and I had done multiple errands. I think this was last week, Friday. I don't even remember what day it was, but we had done multiple errands, right? Like we got the car washed, we got his hair cut, we went to Aldi, we got groceries, we went to Costco, we got a couple things. I even found windshield wipers because I don't know if you guys are familiar with Illinois roads, but there is something about living here that there are always rocks hitting our windshield. So I just had to have our windshield replaced for the second time while living in this state. We have never had a cracked windshield in the past living in any other state, not even driving cross country all the times, but living in Illinois, rocks hit our windshield all the time. And we actually had two cracks in it this last time. So it needed to get done. And then it's always recommended that if you've had a crack in your windshield, you replace your windshield wipers because it tears them up. Well, I didn't want to, I think it was like an extra $85 if I had them replace the windshield wipers, like with theirs that they bring and do. Well, when I was at Costco, I found they had $10 windshield wipers. And I was like, huh, $20, sweet. And then I was super proud of myself because I looked at the little book and I found our make and model, which I couldn't remember what year it was. So I just kind of took an average of like, okay, it looks like most of the Ford Transits, excuse me, need 28s and 20s, right? So it's kind of weird. They're not even the same size, which I didn't even know before. But yeah, putting gas in my vehicle is, and windshield washer fluid. That's about all I do. I don't really do anything else. Like that's my husband's area, but he's not here. So I gotta kind of just step up and be a big girl and do these things for myself. But anyway, so all that to say, we did a lot. Like we got a lot accomplished. And there's McDonald's like what, every mile. But particularly there's one on our way home right before you pass the bridge, and then we get into the middle of nowhere and there's like hardly any. We do have a McDonald's in our town, but it's not like on our way to our house. Like you have to go south. But anyways, there was this one and I knew it was coming up and I was like, we haven't eaten lunch yet. And I don't know if you know this, but McDonald's actually has their own formula for Coke, Diet Coke. That's why it tastes better. And they also have their own formula for ketchup, I've heard, but I don't know. Do I have any evidence to back that up? No, all I know is it tastes better. If you've ever had it, they taste better. But I literally had this conscious, like aware conversation in my head of, I would really like a large Diet Coke and food that tastes delicious, but I know it will make me feel terrible by the end of the night. And I've been doing really well with, eating in a way that I feel really, really good. And I'm seeing results like in losing fat and building muscle on another level that I, haven't experienced in the past. And I was like, do I really want to do this? And then I was like, yes, I do. So I'm going to do this. And so guess what? Then I felt bad that night. But here's the craziest part. The next day, there's the McDonald's right by the kids' school. And I went again. Like, I just got a Diet Coke that time. Oh, no, I didn't. I actually got a whole meal because Bo and I were there. Like, we had to run some stuff over to Gabe for baseball because I forgot, mom fail. I forgot that he had a game. I forgot to check the schedule. Like, I thought the season was over, but newsflash, no. We still have 2 games this week. And so afterwards I was like, hey, buddy, it's lunchtime. Like, you want to go to McDonald's? And of course, Bo's like, yeah, chicken nuggets, man. And so we did. And again, it was like this was a less conscious decision. This was more of a, oh my gosh, I am so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're listening to this podcast. As you know, I believe that if you're not growing, you're dying. So you are in the right place to continue developing your growth mindset. If you have a business and you're an entrepreneur in any capacity, but especially in the social selling world, online and social media, but you're feeling stuck. You've created some level of success, but you can't seem to get past it. You're frustrated. You're feeling burnt out. You're starting to question yourself. You don't feel like you're fully stepping into who you are and how you want to build your business, then go check out my signature course, the Speed and Stability Playbook. and you're going to get timeless principles that are going to be funneled through your strengths so that you can show up and build your business exactly like you want and not how someone is telling you to, so that you can work on the mindset of becoming the person that already has the things that you're looking to create, and being able to do that and generate that through any strategy that aligns with you. Go check that out now in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode. I think it's because we had just gotten back from visiting my husband, and it was just, it's just one of those things where it's like our brains are looking for comfort all the time. Like, we want to feel good. That's the challenge of growth, is because immediately our brains want to feel good. We want to do what's easy. We want to do what's known. We want to do what makes us feel good. And that usually conflicts when it comes to growth, right? Especially when we're talking about disciplines, daily disciplines, being consistent in the things that we know make us feel better. So anyways, well, this kind of kicked off like a whole spiral of like, then we went into birthday weekend for Gabe and Holly. It was both their birthdays. You may not know this, but they are almost exactly a year to the day apart. They would have been born on the same day a year apart, except for we had a leap year that year. And so my mom came up, and we had football on Saturday, and so we had some birthday dinners out. We picked up different food, and like, I don't eat gluten anymore just because it does not make me feel good. It makes my guts hurt, much like McDonald's. Not quite on the same level, but this weekend, we had cake and all the things, and like, I still was aware of what I was eating, but I just, it's one of those things where I don't super restrict, like, because I just don't think that that's healthy either. I eat in a way that, like, how will this make me feel? And I want to eat the things that make me feel the best, right? And so, after the whole weekend, Sunday night, actually, I was like, oh my gosh, my guts hurt, right? Like, and it's a different mindset now than it has been in the past. Like, in the past, it would have taken me out for like ever. I would have gone into this downward spiral. If you're familiar with Enneagrams, I'm an Enneagram 3 wing 4. And in stress, we go to 6, which essentially means like I check out and I do the all or nothing, but I do the nothing. And like binge Netflix and eat bonbons for weeks. Not really, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't do the things that I know are going to help me. And it's just this weird place, but I didn't do that this time. But Sunday night, I was feeling pretty crummy. Like, my guts were hurting, as they do. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take my Vivix, which is anti-aging on the cellular level. It helps to reduce inflammation, all the good things in there. Antioxidants, resveratrol, polyphenols, good stuff, right? Like, we actually have studies showing how it reduces and almost eliminates inflammation after you eat. I should have eaten it or had the Vivix before I indulged in McDonald's, but I didn't plan ahead. I did not pre-decide that I was going to do that. And maybe next time I should, if I decide that again, but I don't think I will when I share this next part with you. But anyways, I was like, I'm going to take the Vivix. Hopefully that'll help. I'm going to take some good gut and go to make sure that everything keeps moving along, because I haven't had a lot of fiber this weekend and all the things. But in that moment, I'm standing there next to the counter in the kitchen. I like had one hand on my guts and one hand on the counter, and I was just like, this does not feel good. And this is where creating awareness is so important, because in that moment, I was like, because remember, our brains want to avoid pain, right? We're either going after pleasure or we're avoiding pain. And so in this moment, I tapped into that pain and I just stood there for a second and just really let myself feel how much my guts were not comfortable and hurt. Like, it's just this dull, like, ache, like, not good. And I was like, feel this pain. And like, I was having a conversation with myself, right? And I'm like, feel this pain right now. Like, you made decisions this weekend. You enjoyed yourself. You did not watch what you ate. You consciously ate things that you knew would bring you to this point. And it's kind of like a come to Jesus moment, but it's really a come to bringing your subconscious into the conscious light and creating that awareness around these things. and connecting pain to where you're at so that you move away from that pain, right? Instead of moving towards the things that are going to make you feel good in an instant, but then are going to make you feel bad later. And so I just took that mental note of like, yeah, I don't really like feeling like this. Like, and I am 100% responsible for everything that goes in my mouth. Like nobody forces me to eat anything, you know. We could say, well, I didn't plan ahead. I didn't pre-decide, so I just had to eat whatever. Like I couldn't just not eat, right? But that again is that I didn't make the choices ahead of time like I absolutely could have, right? And I could have done things differently. And so, but here's the other thing. When we move into a position of shame, of I can't believe you did that, look how dumb you are, like negative self-talk because of a decision we made, that's not helpful either. And that's what can move us into these spirals, at least for me, these spirals of, well, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? Or slashing the other three tires. And like, we can't go that way either. And so I shared this in my stories yesterday on Instagram about, two things that have been really helpful for me. And the first, it was actually funny because after I like talked about it, I was like, oh, that acronym is DAM, DAM. And I was like, haha, I like that. Like that totally makes sense. So DAM is what is it? Decision, right? So like you decide to do something, right? You make a choice. There was a decision that was made. Acknowledge that you made that decision. So in my instance, like I decided in two different instances within 2 days time to go to McDonald's to eat food I actually knew was going to make me feel pretty crappy, right? And then the last step though is move on. Okay. Yep. I did that, right? I did it. Okay, I acknowledge I did that willingly, like actually knowing how it was going to make me feel. And now I'm going to move on. I'm not going to shame myself. I'm not going to be like, you idiot, you should have done that. Like, I did that. I wanted that pleasure and comfort in the moment. I knew what the results were going to be, and I did it anyways. Okay, great. Now let's go. Move on. Right. And then the second piece of this is, if you want to avoid feeling that pain in the future, right? Or if you're just seeing like there's this misalignment in the things that you're doing, the choices that you're making, well, you need to understand, going back to we're making 30,000 plus decisions a day, our brains get tired and our subconscious is making most of that. So that means we're making most of those decisions on autopilot, right? It's like if you're exhausted, right, you're not going to make the best choices that are aligned with your growth and your goals. You just can't, because that's the fallacy of willpower. Like, willpower is such a joke because when it comes to comfort, our brains are going to choose it every single time, usually without us even acknowledging it. Okay. And so, pre deciding, right? Like, this is where we plan ahead. This is where, as I did, I really tapped into that moment of pain so that my brain would remember that, like, that decision leads to pain. And that pain is worse than that very, very, very temporary comfort because I eat really fast. I do. That's one area I need to slow down in, but I eat fast. It's so funny. My kids are always like, are you done already? And I'm like, yeah, I don't mess around when it comes to food. Like, I like food and I'm usually hungry. So, anyway, it's a very temporary comfort. And so pre-deciding can help me to avoid that in the future, right? So, I mean, looking back, we went shopping around lunchtime. We took Gabe's stuff to school around lunchtime, simply pre-deciding ahead to say, like, I'm going to make sure that I have snacks on hand at all time that I can eat that make me feel better. Like that can be one thing. If you're finding that at night, that's when you're, doing your work or something that you have like that's your allotted time, but you're like checking out and watching Netflix. Well, maybe it's time to shift the actual time you've scheduled, right? Maybe you do it in the morning instead. And so it's just having this awareness around like, what are your patterns? What are your habits? Because you can't change what you don't know, and you need to understand what are the typical comforts that you are on autopilot to go after, and what is the pain that that brings, and can you tap more into that pain being greater than the actual temporary comfort in the first place. So this whole episode is just to share with you, like, this is a real life struggle for me. I struggle with these things all the time. It's just, being on these subconscious autopilot journeys, and then moving into shame spirals. And I've grown so much in this area over the years. And it's almost funny now, because now, like I said, I was having this like conscious conversation with myself of like, am I going to make this decision? Yes, I am going to make this decision, but because now I'm able to, okay, I did that. Yep. We're not going to let it take us into a spiral. We're just going to get back on track. And my brain tends to really like to be like, oh, well, you ate that cake, like, you might as well just eat whatever the heck you want all day long and not even care about it, right? Throwing the baby out with the bathwater, slashing those other three tires. And really, my brain likes to go to this, well, you did nothing today, or you didn't eat well at all today, like these extremes. And when I actually step back and look at it, it's like, oh, I actually hit my macros 90% of the day. I just had one meal that, was off. Like, what? That's crazy. It's like things don't have to be perfect, because they never are when it comes to consistency. But as long as we're moving in the right direction, right? I was watching a reel the other day, and this guy was talking about like our goals, almost as if it's like, what is your ideal day? What is an ideal situation? What does an ideal morning routine look like? And then what's the bare minimum? And so then every single day you're still moving towards your goals, but some days it's going to be bare minimum, and other days it's going to be ideal, and most days it's going to be somewhere in between, right? And so this helps you to avoid those downward spirals of, well, it didn't work out exactly like I wanted it to, so now I'm going to do nothing, right? Because we're never doing nothing, and you need to understand this. And this is something that my brain is still growing into, but that we're never doing nothing, because even when we think we're doing nothing, our brain is consumed by us doing nothing. We're actually expending energy still to do nothing. So it's like, if you're like, I did nothing for my business today. Well, you didn't do nothing. You probably spent a lot of energy thinking about everything you weren't doing for your business instead of actually doing the dang things, which expends less energy in the long run, right? And produces better results. So this episode is to give you an inside peek of, hey, the holistic wellness mindset coach struggles with all these things, with, choosing comfort and, then feeling pain. But like, this is my process, and hopefully you can take some pieces of my own process and apply it to your life and see, because again, it's about creating that awareness of the things that you're doing on autopilot, because if you don't have awareness, you can't change it. And that's where you sit in frustration, because you sit there, it's like across the chasm, right? And you're seeing where it is you want to go, the goals that you're working towards, but then you're sitting over here across this chasm and you don't know how to get there, because you're not aware of what's actually keeping you here on this side. And that's where you have to raise your belief, and you have to be able to identify the things that you're telling yourself, the stories that kept you safe in the past that are no longer serving you. And you have to be able to rewrite those, which is the bridge that helps you to get from where you are now out of frustration and moving across that chasm on the bridge to where it is you actually want to go, and to be able to make pivots along the way, because you're aware of the things that are going on between your ears, and you actually spend the time thinking through, what is the thing that's actually the thing right? What is the thing under the thing that's actually the thing? That's the saying that I always say. I need to put that on a shirt. That's what I'm always saying inside our collab coaching mindset mastermind, which doors are open now. So I'll make sure that I put the link in the show notes for you. It's only a short amount of time that those are open because we do kick off next week and then those doors close again because we want to make sure that our community is intimate, but also that, everyone is like, when you sign up, you're getting the full 3 months. Like, you're not signing up in the middle and only getting half, right? Like, we want to make sure that you get in there, you get your sleeves rolled up, we do the work, the messy mindset work, but then we also are able to help you understand your strengths because we do provide Clifton's strength-based quiz for you so that you know what your strengths are. So then we can use those to help you implement strategy because strategy is ever changing. Francine and I were just reiterating this yesterday as we wrapped up our Choose Your Story, Change Your Life book study by Kendra Hall. And in a training we did earlier this year, I think in the spring, we had talked about this illustration of you going to the grocery store. There's a lot of different ways to get to the grocery store. You could use your car, you could call a taxi, you could take the bus, you could ride your bike, you could walk, right? Like, there are so many different ways. There are different routes that you could take to get there. You could, maybe there's a detour and you have to go the long way. Maybe there's railroad tracks and there's a train, so you have to sit and wait for a little while. Like, there are so many things, and that's strategy because strategy is ever changing. And not all strategy works for everybody. There are strategies that are going to work better for you because of your strengths. And so when you are able to identify your strengths, which we do for you inside the group, then you're able to understand, oh, like, that makes so much more sense. And then you make your business your own and you're able to grow consistently and essentially get out of your own way because we do the mindset work, the raising the belief first, so that whatever strategy it is, it works, right? And so those doors are open. You guys can join now. Make sure you do, because once the doors closed, it will not be open again for another at least 3 to 4 months. And why would you want to wait? I mean, what is your level of frustration right now in your business, in the goals that you're working towards? The cool thing is, one of our clients said, I joined collab coaching because I wanted to grow my business, but I'm actually growing in all the other areas of my life too. And that's really cool. And that's what happens, right? When we raise our level of belief, it's all the boats are rising with the tide, right? And it's really cool to see that inside this group. And why would you want your frustration to continue growing? As I said, you're looking at your goals and you've got this chasm. It's time for you to raise your belief, to be able to create that awareness around the thoughts that are blocking the action that you're taking. Because I know you're an action taker. Why would you be listening to this podcast, right? Like, you're someone who wants to grow. Otherwise, like, you wouldn't be listening to a growth mindset podcast. Like, I know that. And why would you not want to have clarity on strategy that is customized to you, real life in your business, to help you to create consistent growth that you feel good about, that feels aligned to you, so that you actually cross that chasm from where you are, you eliminate the frustration, you get the results with ease? Because I'm someone who's a hard worker, but there has to be a point, and I'm sure you feel this too, where you ask yourself, working hard is great. Like, I'm always going to be a hard worker, but there has to be a payoff at some point. Otherwise, what's the point of me working so hard in this, right? And I know I've come to that point in my life at different stages. And, that's where I realize I have a belief problem. I don't have a strategy problem. I have a belief problem. And we have to raise our belief. And the best way to do that, one of my favorite ways, and what I personally do, is to get myself in the room with people who are growing, who have bigger belief than I do, and who are going to challenge the way that I'm thinking right now. And also, they're going to give me examples of what it looks like to be where I want to be, right? So my brain can really get behind that as my reality, not just something that like maybe could happen, like, but actually seeing that. And so those doors are open. Join us. Don't don't sit on this because your frustration is just going to continue to grow. And like, imagine with me for a second, 3 months from now, you sign up, you get inside this group with us, and the things that you've been avoiding doing, or the things that you have been doing consistently, but like, for example, you're getting people to presentations, you're having people sign up with you, and then they never order again. Why? There's a belief problem there. So imagine with me for a second that you not only make connections with confidence, but you have a process that is clear, that is not just clear for you, but is clear for your potential customer, who then feels the confidence because you've been able to share the value with them in a way that works for them. So now they're signing up, but they're not just signing up, they're expanding with you because, again, you have a clear system. And now they're telling other people and potentially joining you in the business because you have made everything so clear for them. But it starts with you, and it feels good and it feels exciting, and you have consistent growth and you're working hard still, yes, but you're actually getting the results that you have known are possible all along, but you just haven't been able to do it for yourself because you didn't have the belief, and or you were trying to implement strategies that are just not aligned for you, that are made for somebody else, that works for somebody else, but doesn't work for you because that's not where your strengths lie. And now it feels good to do the work to build your business because it is aligned with you and it's who you are and it's your way. It's your unique, customized way. So 3 months from now, that's where you're going to be. How awesome is that? And also, anyone who goes through our program gets to be an alumni for life. And it's a month-to-month basis, super low cost. So that's always an added benefit. So that it's like, oh, 3 months, what if I'm not done? No worries. You can keep staying with us and show up for those live calls or get those recordings and all the good things. So, all right. I hope you guys were encouraged by this today to know that you're not alone in your struggles. Like, these are my real life struggles. And I hope that you found some pieces from the things that I talked about that you can pull out and start applying to your own life so that you can grow, and not get stuck in spirals. And, and one thing, this was always encouraging to me that I heard from another coach that I follow, I've done some trainings with. She said, you're not going to agree with everything that I say, and not everything that I say is going to work for you, right? Because we're all different. We all have different strengths. But she said, take what you need and leave the rest. And that's something that I was like, oh, because I tend to think that when I'm following somebody or I'm learning from somebody or I'm doing coaching with somebody, that like I have to, like, everything has to be 100%, like, because I'm so belief driven, like belief is so important to me. But that like gave me the freedom to be like, oh, like I can take what I need and I can leave the rest. And I hope that you guys do that with these podcast episodes, that you take what you need to hear, the things that stick out to you, those aha moments for yourself. You take those, you run with them, you apply them, and just leave the rest. Like, leave everything else that, doesn't apply to you. And maybe it'll apply to you in the future, and maybe it never will, and that's okay. But the point is for you to take what you learn here and to apply it so that you actually grow, so that you create this awareness, so you get better results, right? Like, that's the point. And not that you just drive yourself crazy with self-awareness, but that you actually pair it with action to keep moving forward. All right. If you found this challenging or you have a friend that you think would benefit, share it. Like, that helps me out. It gets us out there. us, I don't know who is, it's me, myself, and I, but it gets my message out there and helps more people to realize that we're not alone in these struggles, and nobody has it 100% all together all the time. And we do struggle. The difference is we're committed to growth. So we're embracing the struggle, we're embracing the challenge, we're not letting the obstacles stop us. We're figuring out ways to move through them and to grow through the process. Take care, my friends.
Thanks for joining the Chelsey Holm podcast journey. If you've enjoyed challenging the norm and embracing growth with a twist, share the love. Don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, keep defying expectations and keep leaning into who God made you to be.